Silence ruled the valley before the screams. Then came the drums. Slow, heavy, unforgiving. They echoed across the lakes, through the forests, and into the hearts of those who heard them, because everyone knew what those drums meant. War was coming. Not a raid, not a warning, but conquest. This was a world where cities did not fall quietly. They were broken, humiliated, stripped of their people. Men were captured alive, dragged in chains, not to prisons, but to temples. High above the city, on stone pyramids stained dark with old blood, hearts were cut from living bodies and raised toward the sun. This is not legend. This is not exaggeration. Archaeology confirms it. Indigenous records describe it. Even enemies recorded it in fear. This was ancient America, before Europe ever arrived. And at its center stood an empire that believed the universe itself would die if it ever stopped fighting. They called themselves the Mexica. History would remember them as the Aztecs. They did not build peace. They did not seek balance. They built an empire on war, on fear, on belief. And once they began, they never stopped. Long before Europeans crossed the Atlantic, long before foreign ships touched American shores, a powerful empire already ruled the heart of ancient America. It did not rise through diplomacy. It did not rise through peace. It rose through war. This is not myth. This is not legend shaped by imagination. This is real history, recorded in stone, preserved in indigenous accounts, and confirmed by archaeology. This is the true story of the Aztec Empire, and how war shaped everything it became. The people later called the Aztecs called themselves the Mexica. They were not born powerful. They were not respected. For generations, the Mexica were wanderers, homeless, rejected. Stronger city-states pushed them away. Others mocked them. Some used them only as soldiers. They lived on the margins of society, fighting wars for rulers who despised them. But this exile had an effect. It hardened them. The Mexica learned how to fight, how to march, how to obey commands, how to survive violence. They learned strategy by spilling blood for others, and they learned one truth that would define their future. Power belongs to those who can take it. Eventually, the Mexica settled on a small, swampy island in Lake Texcoco. The land was unstable, flooded, unwanted, but it was defensible. There, they founded Tenochtitlan. At first, the city was poor: wooden houses, narrow causeways, mud and reeds. Yet from the beginning, Tenochtitlan was built with intention. The Mexica were no longer guests. They were no longer servants. They were preparing to rule. For the Aztecs, war was not merely political. It was sacred. Their chief god, Huitzilopochtli, was a god of war and the sun. According to Mexica belief, the universe itself depended on blood. Human blood. Without sacrifice, the sun would stop rising. The world would collapse into darkness. War became a religious duty. To fight was to serve the gods.
To refuse was to invite cosmic disaster. From childhood, boys were trained for combat. Pain was expected. Fear was punished. Warriors were judged not by how many enemies they killed, but by how many they captured alive. Captured enemies were offered to the gods in ritual sacrifice, public, ceremonial, unavoidable. This belief system transformed violence into order. War was no longer chaos, it was structure. The Aztec military was highly organized. Every warrior advanced through ranks. Promotion came only through performance. Elite warriors emerged, jaguar warriors, eagle warriors. They wore armor made of thick cotton and leather. They carried obsidian-bladed weapons capable of breaking bone. Battles followed strict rules. Signals were given by drums and horns. Formations mattered. This was not uncontrolled brutality. It was disciplined warfare. By the time the Mexica fought for themselves, they were already experts.
Among all Aztec leaders, one man reshaped everything. His name was Tlacaleil. He was never crowned king. He never ruled publicly. Yet historians agree he was the true architect of the Aztec Empire. Tlacaleil redefined Mexica identity. He ordered old histories destroyed, rewrote their past. He declared the Mexica the chosen people of the gods, destined to rule. Under his influence, war became permanent, expansion became policy, fear became strategy. This was not reckless violence, it was calculated domination. Tlacaleil understood something crucial. An empire built on fear expands faster than one built on trust. With new confidence, the Mexica turned outward. City-states that once mocked them now faced invasion. Some resisted, they were crushed. Others surrendered without a fight, terrified by the reputation of Aztec warfare. Tribute systems were imposed: food, textiles, gold, human captives. Tenochtitlan transformed. Stone temples replaced wooden structures. Canals expanded. Markets grew massive. The city became one of the largest in the ancient world. From exile, the Mexica had become conquerors. The true turning point came with the formation of the Triple Alliance. Tenochtitlan joined forces with Texcoco and Tlacopan. Together, they unleashed total domination. No city-state could stand alone. Armies moved efficiently. Intimidation traveled ahead of them. Sometimes the threat alone was enough to force surrender. The empire expanded across central Mexico. Millions now lived under Aztec rule. The Aztecs ruled through tribute. Conquered cities were allowed to exist, but only if they paid. Failure meant destruction. Rebellion meant annihilation. This system enriched Tenochtitlan, but it also bred resentment. Fear kept the empire together, not loyalty. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Aztec warfare were the Flower Wars. These were real conflicts, documented by indigenous and Spanish sources. They were not fought for land, they were fought for captives. The Flower Wars served many purposes: military training, political intimidation, religious sacrifice. They ensured warriors were always prepared, that fear never faded. Peace was considered dangerous. War kept the gods satisfied. War kept society strong. Life as an Aztec warrior was harsh. Training was brutal. Discipline was strict. Failure brought shame not only to the warrior but to his family. Success brought status, land, honor. Warriors were celebrated in art and ceremony. They became symbols of Aztec identity. To fight was to live with purpose. Yet beneath the empire's power lay a weakness. The Aztecs ruled through terror. Conquered peoples obeyed, but they did not forget. Resentment grew quietly. Entire regions waited for an opportunity. Fear is powerful, but it is fragile. Still, long before any foreign invasion, the Aztecs had already secured their place in history. They built one of the most advanced military systems in the ancient Americas. They created an empire through strategy, belief, and relentless warfare. They reshaped the political landscape of an entire region. This is not exaggeration. This is recorded history. An empire built on war, sustained by belief, enforced by fear. The Aztecs did not stumble into power. They conquered it. And their legacy still echoes through time. The Aztec Empire did not fall quietly. It did not vanish without a trace. Its pyramids still rise from the earth. Its ruins still whisper the memory of conquest. Every stone, every canal, every sacrifice speaks of a civilization obsessed with power. A civilization that believed the universe itself depended on its strength. The drums still echo in history. The warriors still stand in memory, and the lesson remains clear. Fear is a weapon. War is a tool. Belief can make the impossible unstoppable. The Aztecs conquered not just cities, but the imagination of history itself. They built an empire that the world would never forget. So when you hear the drums of ancient war, remember this. Some empires rise not on peace, but on blood, fear, and relentless ambition. And though centuries have passed, the echoes remain, louder than ever. The Aztec Empire still commands respect, still haunts the imagination, still reminds us that war leaves a mark that time cannot erase.